conviction is a huge thing that most people that want to win the game of life must have. And every year we hope to continue to prove ourselves that we can continue to do it and continue climbing the mountain. And we made one promise that we're willing to die on the hill. And as long as we're giving it our all, success or failure, crash, burn, or win really big, we've already won.
If you're running paid social ads, you'll know that creative is the variable. Knowing what creative is working, what's not, and how to develop more winning ads is so dependent on understanding actual creative performance at a granular level. At Fly Performance, we use motion for all of our creative reporting. It's frankly transformed our ability to develop, find, and scale more winning ads, driving more revenue and more profit for our clients. Motion empowers your creative and marketing teams with the data they need to make the right decisions through visualized and easily digestible, customizable reporting that clearly identifies the key drivers of creative performance, taking the guesswork out of creative to generate more revenue from your paid social ads. If you're ready to learn how the best DTC and e-commerce brands use Motion to ship winning Meta, TikTok, and YouTube ads, book a demo today or create a free account at motionapp.com. Even better than that, Motion offers a monthly subscription plan so you can dodge all those annoying annual contracts. It's a common phrase in e-commerce that creative wins the click, your landing pages seal the conversion. If you want to convert more paid traffic, you need to own and optimize your post-click experience. One of the best solutions we've found at Fly Performance has been Format. Format's drag and drop no-code builder lets your marketing team create funnels the same way they create ads. From dynamic landing pages to targeted PDPs, custom carts, Format enables you to convert more paid traffic by experimenting and owning your post-click experience. Learn more at formatcommerce.com. That's Format, F-E-R-M-A-T, commerce, C-O-M-M-E-R-C-E.com. Managing your influence and creator marketing doesn't have to be a headache. At Fly Performance, we use Incense. Incense is a one-stop shop to discover and collaborate with creators to produce UGC content for organic social and increase your advertising performance through whitelisted ads on Instagram and Spark ads on TikTok. After trying several other solutions, we landed on Incense, and it's proven to be by far the best platform for streamlining and simplifying the entire process from discovery, briefing, launching ads, and managing payments. Our teams and clients love it. If you're working with influencers and creators to produce user-generated content for your brand or business, you should definitely check them out. You can learn more by going to incense.pro. That's Incense, INSCNSE.pro. Welcome back to Bite Sized. I am super stoked today. I've got the one and only Jake Carls on the podcast, co-founder of Midday Squares, the functional, good for you protein and superfood packed chocolate squares, Forbes 30 under 30, EY Entrepreneur of the Year finalist, and probably many, many more accolades that go against the name. Jake, welcome to Bite Sized.
Oh, yo, dude, I like your energy, man. You know, we recently just met, obviously, through this. And, you know, when I meet somebody with that sense of positivity, it's what's needed in the world. So I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to get in deep with the conversation with you. And yeah, I'm fired up. I'm about to go on vacation, baby. Woo!
Oh, we were just talking about that. Saint-Tropez.
Yeah. Je parle français. I live in Montreal, so I speak French. So for me, I'll almost look like local, you know?
You'll fit right in. Yeah, definitely. Always good vibes. And like you said, recently met, but the energy you put out there and everything is amazing, and already bouncing off that on the podcast. So I'm excited to dive in. Let's start with your title, Rainmaker. What is the day-to-day of a rainmaker? And I feel like we need more titles like that in the world.
So yeah, and I love it. And I think that we need more rainmakers generally in the world. And what I mean by this is people don't even realize that a lot of people are actually rainmakers. They just don't want to have that title. And the reason being is you see rainmakers in like the legal world or like the banking world where their sole duty is to literally bring relationships and opportunities into the organization. Usually they're not even lawyers or they're not even investment bankers, but they're people that are just relationship people. They're good, they're charming, they're able to make friends very quickly, and they're able to bring immense amounts of value of opportunity to these firms. You know, so when I saw that, you know, I was like, why don't they have that in other industries? You know, like, why is there not like these glorified business development roles, not just BD, but these like more than BD roles in the other world? And I told my partners, I said, I was failing as the CMO when we started the business. I was the chief marketing officer, and I was a horrible manager. I was literally not a great manager. My partners are great CEOs. And I tried to fit in so badly because if you own a company, a large portion of the company, you think that you have to have a management position. And I was just like, trying to fit that in, and it was killing me every day. It was killing me because I was horrible at management, and it was a weakness of mine. And then finally I realized that what I'm really good at is making friends with people, and then those friends likely coming to work with our organization, Midday Squares, whether it's a friendship of the brand, or just an actual real asset of the company, or a friendship of just mine. That's what I was good at. So making people feel something, bringing in that community and making noise. So yeah, I'm the rainmaker. I literally bring in opportunities from retail to investors, to journalists, to new team members. And my day-to-day is simply, how do I make more friends? How do I maintain my friendships? And how do I make as much noise as possible for the company?
What I love the most about that, outside of it being a dope title and kind of attaching that make friendships for the brand and personally, is the self-awareness. Right? To your point, like the self-awareness to say, I'm actually not good at this. So just because I'm a founder or a co-founder, having the self-awareness to say, well, I'm just not the best at this. And also it's not my zone of genius. This is, and therefore I'm going to do that. I think a lot of founders essentially lack that self-awareness and think, well, just because I founded the company, I've got to be the CEO. I kind of, when you see that founders and CEOs end up replacing themselves, I think that's a really good reminder for people, like to have that self-awareness and really think, what am I best at? What is my biggest contribution to the company? So I think it's great that you understood that about yourself early on.
And yeah, like, dude, like, at first I had the ego, man. Like, I was like, yo, I have to be in this position. I have to be a chief of something, right? And, my partners, day one, I'll never forget this. They're my brother-in-law and sister, so it's family. They suggested that, actually it wasn't a suggestion. It was a do or die. And the idea was, they said, I'm either going to come to do therapy sessions with them with a therapist, once a week in good or bad times, consistently forever, like literally forever, or I cannot join as the third founder of this business. And I was like them at the time. I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I was so naive. I didn't care about therapy. I thought I was cool because I was playing competitive sports. I was in a fraternity. I was a popular, person in high school and college and all that jazz. So I was like, oh, I'm the happiest guy. I thought that if you went to therapy, it meant that you're depressed, you're unhappy, and you're lesser of. And I got it so wrong. And I'm so embarrassed that I even thought that way 5.5 years ago. But I decided to say, you know what? I'm not going to throw away this partnership for a therapy. I'll just do it because they want me to do it. And when I went into therapy, it was wild. It was a wild experience. And now I'm a huge advocate. I go weekly, potentially twice a week sometimes. I'm a big advocate for mental health and therapy. And it strengthened me as an individual. And one of the things that it did at the time was made me realize that it's okay to step down from a role. And it's okay not to be a manager. It's okay to let it go and not just do what society says or the box says it to do it. You could create your own path. You could do your own thing. It was liberating, right? It was extremely liberating. And then, when I started doing this rainmaking activity, I started to feel like I was winning life for the first time in a very, very long time, because we as a society seem to follow rules that others make for us, other than the law, which I think is inevitable. You need to follow the law and not be violent or anything like that. But I think the paths that everyone guides you to is not necessarily the path that you should be on. So that was like a crazy moment in my life where I worked through tons of therapy to like figure out my own path. And I'm grateful that I have partners that supported that journey with me and didn't scrutinize me or like, because I was lost and I couldn't figure myself out. And yeah, that's how I became the rainmaker. And if my position changes tomorrow, great. But when you have new information, you got to be able to change your way of thinking. When new information comes, you have to be able to mold to it. You can't just, because one of your values is this, and that new information changes. You shouldn't just keep your old value and ignore the new information. Let it come in and then figure out what's next. It's okay to change.
Yeah, that's so true. Adapt to things, but also accept that as you grow and go through experiences, you're going to change. So your mindset, what you wanted to do a couple of years ago might not be the same way. So, be open to that change. I think that's a really good point.
I think too many people aren't. And too many people are like, when they're in the middle of an argument, for example, going so hard on what they believe to be the situation, then suddenly a new piece of evidence or a situation comes and they don't want to change their opinion because it will make them look bad, or they think it will. They'll tell themselves that story and they continue going. And it's like, this is everything in life. And, I used to be that person. That's why I know how it feels. Yeah. And now with a ton of therapy work, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I've come a long way and I now adapt. And
Yeah.
it's the most liberating thing in the world.
You mentioned it, and it's a relatively well-known story for anyone who mentions you. But you run midday squares with your brother-in-law and your sister, right? And you talk quite openly about the moment you joined the business, kind of being at a crossroads in your life, and maybe this was part of the therapy piece as well. But what was that crossroads? Like, what were you going through, and what ultimately made you take that leap of faith and join the brand?
Yeah, so my sister and brother-in-law were making this snack, this midday square version of it before launching it. I was like, my sister was making it for her husband as a snack to eat every day because he loved chocolate and wanted something indulgence but healthier. But when they decided to actually commercialize the product, I saw them doing it, right? I was on the outskirts. I saw them commercializing and working on it. And I believe in them both as entrepreneurs tremendously. And they came to me and they're like, in July, I think it was June actually of 2018. And they're like, hey, can you join us as our third founder? And just the job is for you to be Jake and build the brand. That's what your job is. You're great at building brands, building community, come in and do that. So I thought that was a CMO position, right? And at the time when they approached me, I was going through a critical moment in my life, a pivotal moment. And it was that I just got canned, I say canned or dumped, whatever you want to call it, by an ex-girlfriend who, after 4 years, I have no idea still why she broke up with me, but I was really unhappy and sad because it was out of nowhere at the time. And that was one thing. The second thing was I just closed a business of mine that I worked 2.5 years on that I gave it my all. I literally almost was burnt out. And so I had this perfect storm. And then the third thing was, it was like everyone around me, people that love me, care about me, friends, family, acquaintances, school friends, they were all like, maybe it's time to get a job. So all this noise was creating me to push me into this again, society pushing you into the path, whatever, there's nothing wrong with that path, but the path that they want of you. I was like so lost, man. I was like, I literally was listening to anything that came, I would do it. Do whatever anyone told me because I didn't know who I was. I had no identity left. Yeah. And I was depressed and I was sad. I didn't know what depressed meant or sad really meant at the time. I was hiding a lot of that as insecurities. But my sister-in-law approached me. They're like, hey, do you want to join? And I was like, no. And the reason why I said no was because I was like, food and beverage, it's a hard world. It's commodities. There's 40,000 products in a supermarket, in a larger supermarket. How do you expect to win? We have no money. There's no edge other than the product's pretty good, but we're starting from zero. Like, there's brands like that have hundreds of millions of dollars to spend just on placement in the stores, and we're going to be one product out of 40,000. We're never going to win. And I was kind of telling myself the story. It's time to just de-risk my life. It's time to just do, get the job, work, have a family. And that's it. That's all. Like, meet somebody, have a family. And something hit me. Honestly, something hit me where I was just like, fuck it. I was like, I'm going to go all in. I believe in them as entrepreneurs. The product's good. I need to distract myself from the unhappiness I was going through. Whether that was the right or wrong decision to distract yourself from something, not deal with the grieving is one thing, but it actually got me so focused. I had so much not anger, but so much adrenaline and wanting to win so badly because I was I was in my low bottom of my life, right? Yeah, I started climbing. And next thing you know, my focus was so focused, I didn't even think about the other stuff. And whether that was right or wrong, I can't tell you. But today I landed up okay. And now we're 5.5 years later. And yeah, dude, it goes to show that I was at one point victimizing myself and feeling sorry for myself. And it was just a circle was going downwards and downwards and downwards until I stopped that story in my head. I put a stop and I took whatever opportunity was in front of me. And that was the midday square opportunity. It's probably one of the best decisions I made in my life. There's many, but one of, and I haven't looked back since. And what I learned from it was be open to things, even if they don't seem the most glorious. They don't seem the most easy way out. That was a door that opened. I walked through the door. I want to see what that door looked like. I didn't just step in and look back. I stepped in and just continued walking. And I never turned back, right? And that it created a positive force of momentum that helped me get through that difficult time of my life.
It's telling sometimes how, I'm not saying you were rock bottom, but you were in a bad place, but reaching rock bottom. And if you don't try and help yourself get out of that cycle of telling you, like you said, acting like the victim, right? And not being open to new things. And it's just so important, the stories that we tell ourselves. And when you're in those positions, being open to doing something, just some form of forward momentum, right? And positivity, even if at the time you're in a bad place. You're kind of compounding the issue if you allow the story you're telling yourself to just be negative, this negative cycle.
Dude, momentum is one of the strongest human forces we have, and it works both ways, right? So it works the negative very fast that way, and then very fast the positive way. And you choose as a human which way you're going to take. And the moment you choose and you actually continuously just keep choosing that, it will rocket ship you one way or the other. And
Yeah.
I did at the time. I was so I didn't. My rock bottom was actually last year of this, like about a year and 3 months ago. But prior to that, it was that moment that we're talking about. And I know what the negative force was going, man. Like it was like every day I'd wake up, be like, oh, not another day. Like I was like so unhappy, and I really thought I had no skills. I was no confidence. There was a lot of things going on in my life. And again, I just kept telling myself the story that was digging myself deeper and deeper and deeper until I said, I'm done with that. I'm completely done.
Yeah.
Even if it was a placebo, the placebo shifted the momentum to the positive side. And then I just zoomed past with dead focus, horse blinders on. I wanted to build the next biggest chocolate snacking company. And that was it. That was all.
I don't want to dwell too much on it, but you mentioned last year was rock bottom. What happened?
It's kind of like the opposite of what happened. So basically, things were going really well in Midday Squares. We were growing. My life was good. I met a lovely lady. I got engaged at the time to her. Now I'm married, and I love her. My wife, she's amazing, Melissa. But at the time, there's so much going on good in my life, and I think it was 2023 and the end of 2022. It was so much momentum, positive momentum, that I was going, and I was actually playing fearful that I was playing not to lose it. So I wasn't playing to win anymore. I was starting to play like, oh my God, I can't lose all this attention I'm getting. I was getting all these awards that you said accolades before. There was so much attention and spotlight on me at the time. And I thought that's all I wanted. So I started to chase only that, all those things, only wins and like these like birthday cake moments, I call them, rather than the normal everyday life of building a business and the joy of the process of that. I was no longer enjoying that. It was only what was the next dopamine hit? What was the next attention or spotlight? I was scared to lose it. So my body like got so tight and tense, and I was going at 24/7, literally nonstop. I thought I was unstoppable. Like literally nothing could happen to you in life. And then suddenly I was playing hockey one night because that's where I would do to decompress. And I took a wrist shot and I was trying to impress a 13-year-old. Again, I thought I was the hottest thing in the world. I fell in a weird way. And it was the most fluky thing ever. And it was almost like a sign. I fell and I kind of hurt my back. After like 3 weeks of pain, I was like, shit, this is actually a real injury. I can't really do things. My whole life was identified by physicality, being able to move, jump, make noise, travel, like all that. That was everything, right? So I actually had what I didn't want to lose. I was about to lose. It went down like, not only was I in physical major pain, like literally electric shocks down my body went into this motion of, I thought I had every disease possible. And like this thing triggered in my brain where I became majorly OCD to health anxiety. And I lost control of my life. Like I actually couldn't function. And I thought I had every disease that you could name as an autoimmune, every single one. I went to major medical stuff. I went through all these things, MRI, scan, bloods, everything you could imagine, that I took it seriously. And then, suddenly I just gave up. And I was like, one day I started crying so bad. And I was just like, fuck, what happened? And I felt like I just completely lost control of my life. And I didn't care to wake up. It wasn't about suicide or anything like that. I wasn't on that end. I was just like, I was okay to sleep all day, and I took 37 days off of work, and I went to therapy every day, and I started working on finding my identity again, that my identity is not just Midday Squares or this attention or spotlight. I started to just gain back energy, gain back momentum, gain back my confidence, and then, not redefine, redefines of who I am, and bring myself back to what I enjoy. And I'm about 90% there now, back to I'd say back to where I want to be. And now I have tips and tools, right? And I went to hypnosis, hypnotherapy. I did all these things. It was crazy. It was a year journey. It was like a full year. And my lesson to everybody is, after going through that, what I learned is your body is not unstoppable. Number one, no matter how young you are, no matter how healthy you think you are, eventually it's going to crap out, and it will give you warning signs. So follow those warning signs. There was many warning signs that I just ignored. And the second thing is keeping your why and understanding your why, and just refreshing yourself, consistently, once a month maybe, is critical. And what happened to me was I went so off track, even though I thought I was killing it. I was so off track that eventually it couldn't go more. So I had to bring myself back to the track. And that's what I do now. And I haven't had to burn out since. And burnout could last a day, or it could last a year, it could last a lifetime. So you got to be very careful. And it doesn't just happen to entrepreneurs. It happens to every single person, whether you're in a career, whether you're in a marriage, whatever it is. It happens very quickly, and people don't take it serious enough, which is scary to me.
Yeah, I agree. And often ignore the warning signs, right? Until it's too late. And then you're forced to do something about it reactively versus proactively. That's a great reminder and takeaway. You recently posted about hitting 40 million chocolate bar sales, which is huge. Congrats, man. That's quite the feat within, a competitive space and also becoming profitable, and you mentioned from like close to bankruptcy. So what have been like the biggest factors across, I know that's a long journey for the brand, but what may be some of the key moments of like, okay, it's actually working. The vision and what we think we can achieve is actually working. What were some of those key moments?
Honestly, I still don't feel it, which is the weirdest thing. But truthfully, I think I start to see what you're talking about to a certain extent when we get really deep customer messages. So like, they'll be like, it helped them get through some sort of medical illness that they were going through. And during those moments, they had midday squares every day. Or it'll be like, hey, we are fans of midday squares. You guys motivate us. And that means that we're more than selling just a chocolate bar, right? So those are like the things that make me feel really like fired up, inspired, wanting to continue to take over, hopefully, the chocolate world. Yeah, like, look, 40 million squares is huge. We've produced 40 million bars. It started from zero 5.5 years ago. Every odd was stacked against us. There was no need for another chocolate bar in the world. Building a brand with no audience, we were just three regular people. It's pretty fascinating to see 40 million, especially living in Canada where we're from. There's only 39.1 million people. So we've actually sold potentially more than a square per person, which is kind of cool. But we have huge ambitions still. And we've barely got the party started to where we believe and we have conviction to get to. And I think that conviction is a huge thing that most people that want to win the game of life must have. And, when we started Midday Squares, everyone laughed. I'm telling you, like, I can't even make this up. Like, people were like, what's your day job? And I was like, dude, I just told you, like, I started a chocolate company, chocolate bar. They're like, why? And it's not that they said it negatively. They said it because it sounds like, why? Why do you, is that a real job, right? And every year we hope to continue to prove ourselves that we can continue to do it and continue climbing the mountain. And we made one promise that we're willing to die on the hill. And as long as we're giving it our all, success or failure, crash, burn, or win really big, we've already won. And I mean winning by what we've learned and who we've become as individuals.
Yeah.
And it's been a crazy journey. Like, dude, like owning a manufacturing plant that, is so hard. Being in now 9,500 stores, I think we are in across North America, and we still 48,000 more to go, right? So there's still so much ahead and so much pain and hardships, but yet there's those moments every day where you get those messages, you get those little wins that make you feel more alive and more alive and more alive, and that keep you going.
That's crazy. More chocolate bars sold than people in your home country. That's quite a feat. I'm sure you like to envisage that. You're really open in your content, something that I, really get from your content, being a founder myself, right? About kind of entrepreneurship and, facing moments of doubt, loneliness, rejection, and everything else along the journey. How do you stay motivated when entrepreneurship is this constant daily, weekly, monthly, yearly kind of, there's highs and lows within that journey? And I think, it's great that you're open about it, because I think it's often glamorized, right? Through social media, entrepreneurship is seen as this sit in Bali, have a Rolls Royce, have loads of money, and it's just a easy life. And I really love that you're more open about that journey. So one, why do you share that stuff, right? What's the motivation behind sharing it? And also talk more about just how you deal with those highs and lows.
Yeah. So the reason why we share it, I think transparency and vulnerability is, in my opinion, the future currency of the world. It's how we as humans deeply connect at a way deeper level. And if by sharing my experience, I could help someone else or just make them feel less alone, then I'm winning more than just building a really big chocolate bar company, right? So sharing that vulnerability, it really allows us from a business standpoint to, develop really deep relationships with our customers. So they're no longer customers, they're friends. And when you're a friend, you do a lot more than just buy a product. That's number one. Number two is when you share, you actually feel better. Like it's this weird, weird thing where when you share, it's like bricks off the shoulder. And then, I've been in many situations where I've shared and, I've gotten help for a situation that I wouldn't have got if I didn't share. So, that's the beauty of the internet is you can connect with almost anyone you want. There's a chance at that by just sharing. And then, it's part of my life now, right? And, I wasn't always that person, by the way. I was always private about any downfalls in my life. I was always only just talking about the positive stuff. Now talking about the downfalls, I connect so much deeper with people. I make way more powerful friendships. And what I mean by powerful is just depth. It's made my life better. And I hope it's made more people's lives better. And I get messages, people feel less alone when I share those messages. And I go pretty deep. I go pretty vulnerable. And some people say, why do you do it? And the reason why is simply because I want to.
I love that. That's a great response. And it does help, because I think a lot of people can think that difficulties of entrepreneurship or whatever else is like unique to them. And when you see other people who are like, further down the journey maybe, or have aspects of success, but also, yes, but I also deal with this. This also happens. There's also been moments where it's been like, fuck, what did we do? I think it helps people kind of get out of that mindset potentially of like, the things that are happening are unique to me. And I have to kind of like struggle in silence. There's other people who have been through things. And like you said about depth of relationships, I think there's connectivity around that vulnerability of like, oh, you've been through this, you're sharing it, I'm going through this. And I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate it, man. That's the goal.
You and the brand are really well known for your social media, your marketing. A lot of that is built on storytelling. So what's, I know kind of it's the rainmaker role, right? Potentially, but what's the marketing philosophy behind Midday Squares, and how do you structure that within your teams?
For me, like the marketing role is like, so we have at Midday Squares, we have a storyteller, head of storytelling, and he's a content creator and he's amazing. And he tells our stories. And he works with my sister, who's the creative director, and they tell the Midday Square story every day. So like, what's happening? Is there any moments, big moments that we should share, good or bad? And does it relate to any added value to the consumer? And then there's the personal branding that the three of us do that continues to grow the brand, which is like tell our own journeys, whether it's on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, where we share it, or TikTok. And that builds on top of the Midday Square story, it builds another friendship, which can then be brought back into the Midday Square story eventually, right? So we all do that. And I think that the personal branding is something huge that a lot of founders or even people in careers in marketing should build, or anybody, because it's like your own reputation. It's what people talk about potentially, or what they see about you and then talk about. And, we treat Midday Squares as if we're like a boy or a girl band. That's our whole marketing strategy, is instead of selling records and going on tour, we're selling chocolate bars. So we do the same thing. We go on tour, we make noise, we do performances, we tell our stories, and we hope that makes them fans. And then they buy the product as a way to support. It's like going to a concert, they're supporting the artist, right? Or buying a record, they're supporting the artist. For us, it's the same thing. So we took that's the model from that world and brought it into the CPG world. And brilliant, because again, you make people feel like they know you. They're buying from a customer, a fan. When our customers go to the store, they feel like they're buying from a friend, family, or neighbor. So when they go in there, when there's 40,000 products, they see ours. They go look for ours, and they're like, they feel good when they have in their hand. They're like, I got my Midday Square. I love Jake, Nick, Les, and the Midday Squares team. I know that. I want them to be part of their success or their failure. That's powerful.
It's a trend that's really kind of took off in the last couple of years, right? Probably driven by the power of social media and everything else. But brands realizing that building more of a direct relationship through personal brands and just good storytelling and kind of building that connection with the consumer in a different way than just kind of faceless, nameless product, where you don't know who's behind it. I think now consumers also want that. Do you see what I mean? Like you see so many brands now trying to build community, and whether that's in person or just like events, or whether it's content. I feel like consumers are also like searching for brands where they know what more about the brand than just a faceless, nameless product.
We as humans, for countless amount of time since we've been, existent, we've craved connectivity and emotional connection. Storytelling has been the forefront of how we've bonded, built our communities up, have sold products, made decisions. Storytelling it's around us everywhere, 24/7. We just don't even realize it. So as a business, you have a unique opportunity. Well, you actually have no choice today to do it, because a lot of the old marketing tactics just don't work. Features, benefits, they don't care about that. They want something that's going to add value to their life, connect to them deeply, potentially at their heart. And that's how they're going to listen to you. They're going to opt into your story if they like it. And then you can then talk to your customers to them, and they're ready to listen and be part of. And that changes everything. That makes marketing way less expensive. That makes it way less selling. That makes it as a bond. And again, humans crave bond. They crave authenticity. They crave storytelling. This is what built us as societies. We're now 7-8 billion people in the world. Whether we get along or not, half the world doesn't. We still have bonded tremendously as big communities, big amounts of people through stories and emotional connection.
Yeah, totally agree. Do you have an approach to traditional performance-based marketing. So outside of the storytelling and personal brand, what does that look like?
My partner Nick takes care of that. He loves that world. And yes, we do work with a lot of great, partners like influencers that are suited towards, our vision and their vision aligned. And then we do a bunch of, ads. But the way we do our paid advertisements is it's not a picture of a midday square and says 6 grams of protein, 4 grams of fiber. It's more of our storytelling to actually bring you into the entertainment, get you to watch, see if you like it. And if you like it, come watch more. Come hang and let's build you into our ecosystem, because this is not a short game we're playing. We're not playing midday squares to be done with it after a year. Like, that's not the goal. The goal is to build a foundationally strong community, which leads to a foundationally strong business, as long as you have product market fit and you actually have a good product. But it takes time. It takes a lot of time to build. And we're cool with that. We're not going after, hey, buy on the first time. That's great and all. But if you're not getting the right customer, you're not building the right base, then what's the point? And we don't have millions of followers. I always tell people we don't have millions, but we get millions and millions and millions of organic views, tens of millions. Yeah. And we also get tens of millions of paid views. So when you supplement it, you're actually growing, right? Tremendously. And, we're based in Canada, small business in Canada, but we're doing extremely well in the United States. It's now 70+% of our business is in the United States, and we've only been there for 2.5 years. Again, the storytelling and the content piece and performance is all coming together as an art, or like a perfect storm in quotations.
And what advice would you give to other brand founders who are listening to this, who are like, they're starting a brand, they're not too sure how to start crafting those stories or telling those stories externally? What advice would you give them?
So I'm always like this. I'm always like, you just got to start. That's number one. And you got to trust yourself. Like, just trust yourself and don't judge yourself. But the second big thing is every story that you eventually start to put out, there's 3 ways to think about it. Is it adding value to the customer or to your audience? So that's number one. Can you evoke an emotion? That's number 2. And number 3, do you like it yourself watching it? If you do those 3 things, so you answer the question number 1, does it add value? Yes or no. If it's no, you stop. If it's yes, you go on to the next. Does it evoke an emotion? Yes or no. If it's no, cancel. If it's yes, keep going. And the third thing, if you like it, yes or no, and say yes, so you like the story, then release it. And eventually that becomes so natural to you that it will become a lot quicker. At the beginning, it takes time. But, I would first say, even before judging yourself on that, just start to release a little bit beforehand. And then as you get comfortable with just sharing, start that process of those 3 questions.
Yeah, I love that structure. I think the crucial one is, do you enjoy it yourself? I think it was probably Gary Vee, actually. I heard on a podcast the other day saying about like people are creating content that they wouldn't even watch or find value in, just to trying to build an audience. Or even if you've got an audience and you're still creating content that you don't even like that's always going to put you in a difficult position. So I love that when you're starting out, those 3 pillars that you kind of mentioned, I think are so important.
It's critical. And, we've stopped stories from going out simply because we didn't like them. Of ourselves, even though they could have been viral or things. If we don't like it, why would we put content out there that we don't like? We put content out there that we like because we believe someone else will watch that. Because if we like it, somebody else should. Same thing, if you like something, somebody else should like what you like, right? We're 7-8 billion people in the world, right? So, but if you don't like yourself, I don't believe it's worth it, because you get so lost in your identity then, and you start to veer really quickly. Your vision or your goal, it's very hard to stay aligned when you start to dislike the stuff you're putting out just for the sake of putting it out.
What's the thing that brings you the most joy in what you do?
So the thing that brings me the most joy currently is being able to light fires under people's asses. And what I mean by that is to inspire. When I get an opportunity to go on a stage and, give a crazy speech and I watch people come up to me or their faces just be like, fuck yeah, I feel good. I want to go throw a chair. I want to be bolder. I want to take that risk. That's, to me, what gives me joy, because that means I'm building the impact on the world, other than just selling a chocolate bar, right? You could do that through content. You could do it through the way you have your one-on-one meetings with people, the way you carry yourself every day. It's how you make people feel. And I believe it's a privilege to have the opportunity to make people feel something. And that's what brings me joy. And that aligns back with my purpose. It fuels me, right? When I'm tired or I'm going through hard times, if I can continue to make people feel a little bit more bold or be a little bit more themselves every day, inspire them to do that, then I'm winning. I'm doing what I was supposed to do here on earth.
Again, it's that self-awareness and like intentionality of like, I'm going to bring this to the table. I know what I'm good at. I know what brings me joy, and I'm going to bring that every day to the best of my abilities.
100%. And if you're not enjoying life, then what's the point? There'll be moments of tremendous amount of pain throughout the whole process, because entrepreneurship is full of just pain, to be honest with you. But and careers are too. But I always try to find out the joy in the pain. Like there is joy. There's joy in the process. And yes, there's the birthday cake moments that we discussed before of like those big wins. But then there's these little things that happen, and it's just like, you're like, wow, if I wasn't doing this, I wouldn't have had this opportunity to experience that. And that is something incredible. And also the people you get to meet. Look, we just met. Like this is our first intimate conversation. And I feel like I'm gonna be a friend of yours and you're gonna be a friend of mine for a while, probably forever. This wouldn't have happened if I wasn't probably with, started Midday Squares.
Yeah.
The journeys collide in such interesting, fascinating ways. Yeah, like so even though there's pain, there's a lot of enjoyment as well.
And I think it's easy to say, hard to do, and you learn it through going through it, but you have to enjoy the journey. If you're not enjoying the journey and enjoying the process and kind of thinking like, okay, it's teaching me something, as difficult as it is right now, it's teaching me something that I'm going to be able to apply in the future. I feel like every entrepreneur goes through it. And when you if you stay in the game long enough, you're able to give this type of advice. If you're listening to it in the early stages, you're probably thinking, yeah, fuck you. It's easy to say, but you achieved this.
100%. You stay in it long enough. That's all you need. Stay in it a little bit longer. And that's what the best advice I actually received from one of our board members 2-3 years ago. And I never forgot it. And you just said it too. So it's fascinating. Even though it's hard, stay in it a little longer and you're going to see. Whether you're going to see success in whatever you believe success is, you're going to see it.
Yeah. CPG is notoriously hard. Competitive perspective and just what it takes to scale a CPG brand. Over the years, you've raised, am I right in saying close to $20 million? So you've raised capital. I don't know if you had experience in this previously, but you've got into all these different stores, Costco. How do you navigate those things for the first time?
Honest to God, surround yourself with like good people helps, but also just like putting your front foot forward every day and staying aligned to your core values that you believe in. Like I said, like we made mistakes. As long as you're right more than you are wrong, then you're hopefully going to win. And another thing that we live by with all these situations you just named is we make unaverage decisions every single day. And what I mean by that is we trust our gut, and no one's going to have the same gut feeling as I am because we're different people, right? We have different DNA, different experiences. And that's what makes us great is having that ability. So making unaverage decisions lead to unaverage outcomes. And I always say this all the time. It's like, you're going to be good or bad. You're not going to be mediocre, but good or bad outlier points are good because you end up learning from your failure. So if we screw up at an XYZ retailer for making a mistake on how we ship the product, then we're not going to do it again in another one, right? So we won. We actually had a win come out of it. So that's how we function and get through this. And then surround yourself with people that have probably been there, done that, and listen and work with them and have them as not only a sounding board, but as a support system.
And I think more people need to be open to reaching out and asking for help. There's a lot of people willing to share experiences and what's, anyone who's doing more than you isn't going to criticize or put down on you for reaching out, looking for help.
No, and that's a human component where fear of failure comes in, right? Where fear of rejection. But if you live with that fear of rejection, you're going to miss tons of potential opportunities, tons of potential success in your business, in your personal life, your marriage. Asking for help is a strength, not a weakness.
And you kind of mentioned this a little bit in terms of there's still so much to go for the brand. But and in one way, I don't like to ask this question of people, but I'm always a little bit intrigued. But like, what's the end goal?
We don't have an end goal, but what we have is a 3-year plan going forward. And every 3 years we relook at the plan. So 3 years, our goal is to get this thing to about $100 million with a really high margin for our space, and to evaluate what happens at that point. What do we do? What's the innovation calendar? Do we sell the company? Do we IPO? Do we continue growing? Do we buy other companies? What is the strategy after? We don't know. But till then, we have a game plan put forward that we are dead focused, horse blinders on, that we know with conviction we can achieve if we just execute on what we put forward. So we like to say promise made, promise kept. Yeah. We like to have, so every 3 years we relook at the promise made and did we keep it? And usually, hopefully that's the case. In the past, that's been the case. But then we reevaluate and we say, what's next? What's our energy levels? What's our passion levels? What do we believe? We ask honest questions and we come to an answer as a group. Whether we have to do therapy, we have to do coaching sessions to get through those answers, we do it. And then we keep going. Listen, at the beginning when we started this business, we want this to be a legacy, like a Hershey's, but a modern day Hershey's, like a new age, better for you chocolate snacking company. And we still want that, but it's extremely difficult. That's not to say that it can't be done, but that could take 20 years from today to build that, 25 years. And again, you always have to ask yourself, are you still in it? Do you want to still do it? Do you not want to do it? There's big questions. And if you're honest with yourself, you'll get to the right plan. If you're not, you're going to be miserable. Even if you're succeeding in whatever other people see as successful, you'll be miserable if you're just doing it for the sake of doing it and not because you want to do that.
Man, like you said, it's great to meet you. I do feel like a friendship has been born. I love everything that you mentioned. Just the way you think and talk about like your approach to yourself, your approach to intentions, how you think about entrepreneurship, and it all really speaks to like just self-awareness and being true to yourself, but also working on yourself, right? I think that's the other thing that really comes through when you talk in your content is like, it sounds like you're very aware of strengths, weaknesses, of what's a positive force in your life versus a negative. And I think that's a really good takeaway for, I say any entrepreneur, but anybody, right? Because I think it's never good to just kind of float through life. And I've really taken that away from this conversation. You're making me think about even myself, to be honest with you, which is great. I guess that's the point of it.
Yep.
But really appreciate you coming on. Like I said, big fan. Congrats on what you've achieved. And I know there's so much more to go with Midday Squares. I'm a consumer, love the product. So thank you for bringing it into the world and really appreciate your time on the podcast. Is there anything you want to close with?
First off, I appreciate you. Second, to close, just be unapologetically yourself every day. To anyone that's listening to this, you don't know when your time's up. So that's the most fun you could have, is just to be you.
Love it. Perfect. Thank you, my friends. Appreciate the time.
Appreciate you, Dan. Rock on, and let's connect, man.
Definitely, man. Definitely. I might bounce over to San Tropez and have a couple of days over there with you.
And on last spot, let's go. Woo!
I need a vacation as well, to be honest with you. So maybe we'll do that.
Take it.
Awesome. Thank you, bro.
Take care, brother.